Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've never actually said that before, but let's keep going at this point. So in May, I read a staggering number of 18 books, and it was quite like how would you say it? Like a lot of different types of books, to be fair, because I did read a few like fiction and other things. To be fair, I cannot put this up. So we'll get started. Look at them. They're actually not that bad, to be fair. Though I would say that there's quite a few of them like were new to me authors, and some authors that were just like, oh my god, I actually want to continue reading different types of books that they already like make. And so let's start. So the first one I read was Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. I gave that one 4.25 stars. It was actually a very interesting and also heart-wrenching story about this father and son's relationship. But it's essentially the father writing letters to his son, enabling or rather apologizing for all the different types of things that he done to the son out of like fear, envy, neglect, and also like these type of like basically him just reacting in a way that he was dealt with because that's all he's ever really truly known, but also coming to the clarity and different types of things that was going on. So I definitely recommend that one. But straight after that, I read the second book. It's not really necessarily the second book. However, I would recommend reading Don't Cry for Me and then Isaac's Song by Daniel Black, because that one I gave 5 stars. It is essentially the story of it's like a coming of age story where we're following Isaac, and we are also going back and forth between the first book and in Isaac's perspective, but also seeing like how he felt about the entire situation, him coming to terms with this like not having parents anymore, to like growing, becoming, trying to be an author, and also like a him also like exploring his own sexuality and different types of things like that. I loved it, so I gave that 5 stars. It's one of like my 5 stars of the year. I then also read like In the Shadow of the Fall by Toby Ogungran. It was okay. It's basically about this like girl who is in this like a kind of like academy type of thing, and then there's a lot of like magic happening. And to be fair, it was to me it was unrememberable. I just gave it 3 stars. It was okay. But then I read like three books back to back to back. Spark of the Everflame, Glow of the Everflame, and the last one of that book I believe is Heart of the Everflame. They're all by the same author, Penn Cole. And then, I don't know, I guess maybe to me it's like I'm kind of slightly getting over the romantasy genre per se in fantasy, because everything is the same old. Like this one girl who doesn't know her true powers, but at the same time there's a lot of mystery going on here, only to find out she's like a crown, she's gonna be the crown of something, but also like this brooding guy that was like, oh, you took away everything from me, but at the same time you didn't. And I'm just like, really? But I mean, it was okay. It was just like something to just read. Plus, I audio listened to it. If I was actually reading those three on my own physically, I would probably have DNF'd. So I gave the first one 3.5. This other one, the second one 3.5 as well, and the fourth one 4 stars, because I think it was more like you were actually getting to the point, and she's also like slightly on a revenge path, which I like. So do with that as you may. I also then read A Soul to Touch by Opal Rayan. It's like the same type of thing as like is the third book in the Dustwalker series, of where like there's like these like Dustwalker who is kind of lonely and wants to like find like a mate or a woman just to be around. And then there's this like woman in the forest who's like, she's tiny but she's muscular, and she's also like has kind of like she'll cuss you out, different types of personality. She's actually quite sweet, and it's more like they fell in love, yada yada yada. So I gave it 3.5 stars. It was okay, but I don't know. I thought it was nice. It wasn't like all that like different, because at the same time I feel like since this is the third book, the first one, the second book was doing the same thing, so I didn't really care. Then I did read Only for the Fans by Nyla K. I also annotated a bit out of this. So it's like basically you could just take this as like, well, if you and your stepbrother opened up OnlyFans, which I was just like, at first when I thought about that, I was just like, ooh, what do you mean? But like going through the story and everything like that. To be fair, um, um, what's his name? Av. No, RV, I actually quite liked him because his name, like, he was doing through, like, he's the one that started the, like, OnlyFans, and also, like, he was also very, very, like, you could understand where he's coming from, trying to do this. It's like a misfit kind of thing. But the other guy, Kieran, the first 100 and, how many pages was that? the first almost 170 pages in this book, I hated that guy, Kieran, because he just was so whiny and always like complaining. Oh, you have it easy. My dad hates me. My dad this. My dad that. I'm just like, oh, get me, cry me a river, boy. Like, I don't care. But then afterwards, you see like the different types of thing within the story, and I'm just like, oh, now it makes sense why you're a dick. But does that justify you just being so horrible to the other guy? No, not really. But I mean, I take that with a grain of salt. But like, it was fun. There's a lot of happy fun time. A bit too much, but at the same time, is I guess it's part of the plot, really. But like, there was like this, when the author like does this like third act breakup type of thing that sometimes is necessary, sometimes not necessary. For this one, I guess it was necessary so that the Kieran Kieran could figure himself out and find himself. But boy, I did that. I want to slap that boy. I'm just like, get out of my face. Anyway, after that, sorry for the rant. I then read The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, because I haven't seen it a while for now, because like what sold me is that it's Native American vampires, and I was just like sold. I want to read it. And it was like basically like this like mystery story where this one person's reading the journal of one of her like great uncles, and he was a priest, but he did like things bad. So basically he went to priesthood to like cleanse himself of all his sin. And then there's like this vampire that's coming after him, and you're just like, why exactly? Because at first he's like, oh, I'm just going to like tell you about like confess my sins to you, like plead for penance, only to find out, oh, there's a lot more going on to it. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. You should read it. I then read A Little Kissing Between Friends by Cynthia C. Higgins. I gave it 4 stars. It's like this friends to lovers thing. To be honest, the book could have been a lot shorter if one of the characters, the mask and the relationship was no stud, I believe, were to just have like been more honest and also like just like communicating, because it was just dragging on for too long. I was just like, come on now, you guys clearly like each other. Like, why are you guys taking so long? I don't understand. But it was cute. However, I did like When Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding by Cynthia C. Higgins. I love that one way more. I gave it 4.75 stars. It's like found family, fake dating, because it's basically like they get into this show where each contestant will be paired up, and so the first pair to say I do and walk down the altar, but also at the same time having to fake to the entire family and friends that they're getting married, gets like 100K each dollars. And I just enjoyed it because like it was so sweet and tender, and I loved all the characters, and it was more like, I'm not a reality fan or all these like angsty thing kind of like a romance person, but like I'm just like, ooh, I like this. I like it a lot, actually. uh, I then after that read um because from this author I've been reading a lot of stuff from them, is A Cutter Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. And so we're basically following Sunny, and she was raised for the first majority of her life in America. And so because both her parents, because of something's going on with Sunny, have to move back to Nigeria with her two of her brothers as well, Sunny begins to like notice a lot more things are becoming more strange because he sees things, only for her to end up being in this like secret society of people who are able to practice juju, which is like witchcraft, or like it's also like a religion that is more prevalent in Nigeria and west of Africa. And it was actually really really interesting, and I loved how like they were implementing like different types of like African cultures, but also at the same time where a masquerade plays like a huge role in this type of thing, because of like they're basically trying to figure out, okay, there's some man that's trying to killing little kids left right and center and taking body parts off them, what's going on, kind of like mystery, but was actually quite interesting. Honestly, I would love that if this thing was to happen like in like adult fantasy type of thing where it's a lot more gruesome and a lot more like it was still really interesting because it's middle grade. However, it would have been so good. You get what I'm saying? I hope you do. Then I read then this other one is Bellies by Nicola Dinan. And so we're basically following these two like this two couple. You just have to like imagine basically this thing begs the question to say that what happens when something fundamentally changes within the relationship, and how do the people involved in the relationship and the ones that they love and their friends react towards it, because we're basically following these two characters. One of them, his name is Tom, and then is Ming. And so Tom is obviously like a gay man and he really likes Ming. But when Ming later on, because like this is like a coming of age story, we follow them when they just first start university onto when they're well into adulthood, and Ming ends up understanding that she is a trans woman, and so obviously she's socially and physically transitioning, and how that affects her relationship with Tom, because Tom is not really like he basically loves men. And so as Ming is transitioning into a woman, he struggles with it a lot, but also like them also having like communication problems, but also is not necessarily the best for one another, and there's so much more going on. And also how like Ming herself is also like trying to figure out things, different types of things in terms of like her relationships that changes, the ones that don't change at all, and how at the same time none of the characters in the book are basically, you could say that they're likable, but at the same time they're just very flawed, and it's like quite normal, and all the thing that that entails. Also, the author just came out with a new book this month, and I will be reading that as well. But I still gave this one like 4 stars. It was actually quite good. Um, After that, I read Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Hyung. I gave that 4.25. Honestly, it could be 4.5 stars. I actually quite enjoyed it because it begs the question to believe like, okay, what happens when you love your friend to the point where it's actually quite toxic? It also tackles toxic female relationship to the point of where like if one of the characters could enter the other friends skin, they would, and all that entails from like controlling to like you can also see this underlining what could have been, but also when one of the characters puts the other one on the pedestal because one of them is like a prodigy and the other one feels so mediocre, so in order to feel better about themselves, they develop this type of like envy, but also like this type of like need to be around them to the point it's obsession, but the type of obsession that turns into like jealousy, envy, but that envy turns into like a very warped way of love. And it was so concerning, and I'm also at the same time I was just like, girl, no. But it was very interesting. And then the next one I read, it was a reread for me. I actually like last year I read it the audiobook. Now I actually read the physical book, is Lie With Me by Philippe Benson. And it is essentially like a story of what could have been, lost opportunities, letting go, loss, grief, and also like what if kind of thing. So it's basically from like these two boys who they are in France, they meet each other, they fall in love, but at the same time have to move on. And when one of them becomes like a famous author, meets this one boy on a train station thinking that, oh, is that the guy I loved once before? Why didn't he age? Only to find out it's his son. And he's just like, ooh. And they're having like different types of like talks. So I really do love it. It's very tender, sweet, sad. And I mean, it's Pride Month, you might as well read it. After that, I then did read Blessed by Cupid Distribution System by Robin Joe Margaret. It's basically as Valentine's Day, and all these cupids are able to like just go to Earth and then like find a human to help find love on Valentine's Day. So our main protagonist is obviously a trans woman, and she doesn't really know because she's like, oh, it's Valentine's Day again. No one likes me. Da 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 da. And then Cupid comes, and they have like this type of like 1 day fling that ends up turning to more. It was cute. I give 3 stars. Then I did read Mantras and Minotaurs by Ashley Bennett. I gave this 4.25 purely out of vibes because it was just adorable. It's basically like this, like getting love or being in love in your later years, because this is basically the mother of two of the characters in the two previous books. And so obviously she didn't have the greatest marriage. And then she meets this one like Minotaur man, and they hit it off straight off the bat. Was it insta lovey? Yes. However, was it cute? I was just like, oh my god, this is so adorable. So 4.25, and I will not be elaborating, even though like I was just like, ooh, you go girl. And then the last book I read is Crooked Plow by Itema Vieira Jr. I freaking love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. So we're basically following these two sisters, Biliana and Bibiana. And so basically something happens to them when they're like 6 or 7 years old, which would inevitably change the course of their entire life, in which is in turn one of them goes has like a semi decent life where the other one has a lot more trials and tribulation throughout their lives. But like it also digs to the instance of like familiar love, being on the plantation, like different types of things that's going on, loss, grief, but also like when a community of people who were uprooted from where they are from have to go to a different country and live there, but also assimilate, but also adopting the religious practices of said Christianity, and how that affects the generations afterwards. But it was so rich in so many different types of things, and I actually just really, really enjoyed it. Especially, however, I would say with this one, you would have to pay attention a lot more to be able to like understand a lot that's going on. But it was super interesting. So read it. And I've also been getting into more fiction recently. I'm not sure why, but maybe it's just like that time, you know? So because of like in honor of it's already it's June, and well, it's my birthday month too. But I was just thinking, you know what, let me just read. I already read 2 books in June, and what is it, today is the 4th of June, so I mean that's good, I guess. I am planning on reading quite a few books. However, will I finish everything? I don't know, but most of them are like 100 pages or 200 pages each, so it's doable. Don't hold me on that though. So these are all of them that I want to read. So a lot of them is like, for example, In the Absence of Men by Philippa Benson. I know like there's a new edition that just came out this year, or rather this month actually. On it was yesterday, but I have the like the UK edition because I can't be asked to like get it order it from Amazon or anywhere else. To be fair, and then there's like Boulder. I want to read Boulder. Another book by this one is Krampus because I read the other Krampus book by Brum. So this one is like a romance and it's like rescuing Krampus. And I was just like, it's short. I know it's going to be spicy. So why not? I also want to reread Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secret of the Universe because I don't know. This is like a comfort read and I just really love this character. I like the first one more than the second one, to be honest. Then there is this one who I started it last year, but it was a bit weird. So I was just like, oh, I'll listen to it later, maybe. This one. I also want to read by James Baldwin, Going to Meet the Man, and also Go Tell Them on the Mountain by James Baldwin as well. And also, this one is what I'm currently listening to is Song of Irie. And so that's all the books I want to read. So how was your reading month and what type of books do you guys want reading? And let me know if you really like enjoy these type of like formats of what I do, like what I want to read, or if I should like change it up a bit. But anyway, thank you so much for if you're still here, and we'll see each other soon. Bye.